She was a parent at a very young age. She's been unemployed, she's been homeless, she's taken that and she moved to the top of her class at the Little Rock Central High School, got her Bachelor's of Arts, got her MBA from the University of Chicago. She's now Director of Financial Management for GSA. She's controlling millions of dollars for our municipality. She married her soulmate, Lester Coleman, and she has this wonderful thing called the Champagne Connection. And she has these wonderful, inspiring things called a sip of inspiration. She's a Meta Monthly columnist, and I came to know her because she came here to church and sat in on our services, and then I began to realize who this woman was and her magnificent power. She is a sought-out speaker, and she is also called the Empowerment Doctor. Please welcome Stephanie Wilson Coleman.
Electronics, or I will hear from my marketing team afterward if I don't. Greetings. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreams, and this is a wonderful world. One thank you for that song. It's one of my favorite songs. We are, and then got my second one right here. I always start with a story, and usually you know it's a story because it starts by once upon a time or one afternoon, okay? One afternoon, a man came home from work to total mayhem in his house. His 3 children were outside, still in their pajamas, playing in the mud. There were empty food boxes and wrappers all over the front yard. The door of his wife's car was open, and the front door of the house was open also, and there was no sign of the dog. Proceeding to the entry, he found an even bigger mess. The lamp had been knocked over, the rug had been wadded up and thrown against the wall, the front room television was loudly blaring with the cartoon channel, and the family room had toys and various items of clothing everywhere. In the kitchen, dishes were filled in the sink and breakfast food was spilled on the counter. The fridge door was open, dog food was all over the floor, and a broken glass lay under the table. And there was a small pile of dirt spread by the back door. He quickly headed up the stairs, stepping over toys and more piles of clothes, looking for his wife. He was worried that she might be ill or something serious had happened. He met with a small trickle of water outside of the bathroom door as he went by. And he peered inside and he found much the same. Water all over the floor, piles of toilet paper everywhere, toothpaste smeared all over the mirrors and walls. And as he rushed to the bedroom, he found his wife still curled up in her pajamas, reading a novel. She looked at him and smiled, and she asked him how his day was. He looked bewildered and he asked, well, what happened here today? She again smiled and she answered, you know, every day you come home, and you ask me, what in the world do you do in here today? He said, yes. She smiled and she answered, well, today, I didn't do it. Let's become still. Just for today, I will keep my mind filled with possibilities and not obstacles. I will trust that power greater than myself to direct my steps. I will keep my conversations filled with goodness until it engulfs me. I will seek out the things that make my soul smile and take the time to appreciate the beauty that surrounds me. I will believe just for today that the universal power is working to shape my world in ways that I cannot begin to imagine. Just for today, nothing will be impossible. Just for today, I will not be separated. Now, I want you to hold the hand of a person next to you, and I want you to repeat after me. I am squeezing your hand.
I am squeezing your hand.
Because you need to know.
Because you need to know
what it feels like.
What it feels like.
To hold the hands of a survivor.
to hold the hands of a survivor.
I am squeezing your hand
I am squeezing your hand
because you need to know
because you need to know
what it feels like
what it feels like
to hold the hand of a miracle.
to hold the hands of a miracle.
As you let the hands go now, you can just relax. I would like to thank Reverend Celeste Frazier for inviting me to share my words of inspiration with you. I'd like to thank my ancestors for I am standing on the wings of their prayers. We drink from a well that we did not dig. And to the divine intelligence for the sip of inspiration that I find in the lyrics of my favorite songs. For the smile on the faces of my loved ones and in the face of my enemies. And for infinite kindness, for keeping me, teaching me, loving me, and guiding me in all my endeavors. I am Stephanie Wilson Coleman, the Empowerment Doctor. My mission is to help others step into their greatness and to live their dreams. It is my pleasure to be with you today. My message today is intended to be a message of hope. It is to inspire you to live your dreams. For there is no better gift that you can give your loved ones than the example of never giving up. To inspire you to believe that your inner star will carry you to places that you never dreamed possible. As I prepared my message for today, for this first Sunday in which we celebrate mothers, I looked back over my own life, which has been filled with chaos and turmoil, victory and success. And I must be real special because I've had my share of mothers. I've had grandmothers, adopted mothers, biological mothers. I've got mothers. When I lost them, I got new mothers. Okay. I have read all of the old school classics on success. Think and Grow Rich, The Richest Man in Babylon, The Secret Doors to Success. And I read all of the new age books, Good to Great, which is one of my son's favorite, The Visionary Leader, and Cash in a Flash. Every book simply taught me all of the things that I learned from my mothers. Suddenly I realized that the core values of success were the results of the lessons that my mother taught me, and that the writers just all found a fancy way to say what my mother had said all along.
Yep.
The difference is my mother's principles were always grounded in spirituality. She would say that if God is not in the middle of it, it's not success. And that's exactly what she meant. There's a common desire within every person to live their dreams, and our current society teaches us that success determines our worth. However, if you look beyond that, this common society also teaches you that there are a million different ways to measure success. It's like planning your journey. There's 525,600 minutes. What journey are you planning today? But I want you to remember as you're planning your journey that if God is not in the middle of it, it is not success. Now, the universe's formula is completely unlike the world's formula. The formula given gives every person what they need to do in every situation. So, what you need to do if you're having a financial problem is the same thing that you need to do if you're having a health problem. It's the same thing that you need to do if you need a job. It's the same thing that you need to do if you're having any problem. It never changes. So that's how you know that it's a principle, because it never changes. Now, people always like to start with Joshua 1:6-7, because I think you could probably build some very great sermons off of Joshua 1:6-7. It says, be strong and be very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law of the servant Moses, that the servant Moses has given you, and do not turn from the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. And then Habakkuk 2 is really important and has been important to me, is write it down and make it plain. However, there are other instructions for success that are found in the Bible also. If you go to Proverbs 31:25, you'll read, she is clothed with strength and dignity. And in Proverbs 31:26, it says, she speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction in her tongue. However, Proverbs 1:8 says, listen to your father's instructions and do not forsake your mother's teachings. Now, most of us will spend this month trying to decide what we can do to show our mothers how much we love them. Some people will spend this month mourning the loss of their mothers, and some will feel disconnected because they didn't have a physical presence of the mother. But no matter where you find yourself, the infinite, all-knowing presence of God made certain that we would have examples of mothers in which to turn. According to the revealing word, mothers represent the manifestation of spiritual ideas, and we've been given plenty. The secret to success, however, is actually no secret at all. If you do what comes naturally, if you do what you love, you will experience success, joy, love, and all more than you could imagine was possible. Now, one of the important lessons that I learned from my mother, which is also demonstrated in the Bible, is use the power of choice wisely and watch where you place your focus. Now, this power of choice is demonstrated by Eve, the first mother in the Bible. We all know the story. Eve disobeyed God's will and she ate the forbidden fruit. When she got caught, she blamed somebody else, right? We've never done that, right? She blamed Satan. Now, this does remind me of a popular bumper sticker that's in my neighborhood that says, Eve was framed. Okay? Now, the lesson behind this story, there are many lessons. Eve was focused on what she didn't have and what she couldn't have, which was the forbidden fruit, instead of being focused on the blessings that she already had and the more blessings to come. And that's when she began to doubt the power of God. So like us, Eve focused on what's wrong with her life. We spend most of our time focusing on the 20% of the area that is not right in our life, as opposed to the 80% that is right. And we spend 80% of our time on the 20% we have been persuaded to eat the apple. So how many times have you eaten the apple? How many times have you doubted your success? How many times have you doubted God's promise? And how many times have you eaten the fruit of despair? Then we just don't eat it. We call our friends and talk about it. We post it on Facebook, okay? And we tweet it, okay? And then when our friends call us after we say we're not going to do it anymore, we don't say it anymore. We just are amen corner. Yeah, child, okay. And that's what that looks like. So we're constantly eating this apple of despair. But we've got to remember that one important thing about Eve is she did go on, in spite of this, to become the mother of the world. The next principle is to never give up. And I know everybody, when we say never give up, I think about Sarah, the mother of Isaac. See, Sarah had big plans. God had promised her husband Abraham that he was going to be the father of the world. So to do this, she had to hurry up and have as many children as she could get, right? Okay. No matter what Sarah tried, she just could not conceive. Of course, she became heartbroken. She took matters in her own hands. We've never done that, right? She sent her handmaiden Hagar to Abraham so that he could have children. But lo and behold, at 90 years old, she conceived. Sarah teaches us never to give up on our dreams. Because to give up on your dreams is to give up on God. And I'd like to ask you, is anything too hard for God? Another lesson I've learned is faith and to always trust Spirit. Yochebed, the mother of Moses, was an unwed mother. And after giving birth to Moses, she found an ingenious way to keep him alive. See, at that time, according to the law of Egypt, he should have been killed. She trusted that God would create a plan that would help her keep Moses safe. And he did. The other thing is to keep your word. When Hannah, the mother of Samuel was unable to conceive, she was humiliated and even bullied. And I said this is one of the examples of bullying that shows up in the Bible. But instead of taking the situations into her own hand, she simply poured her heart out to God. She promised God that if he blessed her to conceive, that she would give that firstborn child back to him for service. When she conceived, she handed that child back into God's service, and she was blessed with 3 more sons and 2 more daughters. See, our success in life depends upon how well we are able to transcend our valley experiences. We are no longer challenged to change the situation. We are challenged to change ourselves.
Yes.
Examples. Some of us need real life examples. Take it out of the Bible. Let's see what's happening. Maya Angelou was born in 1928. In 1951, she married a man that her mother absolutely did not approve of. Her list of professions include pimp, prostitute, nightclub dancer, and performer. Talking about forbidden acts. Sounds a little bit like Eve. She wrote her first book at the age of 40 and became one of the first poets to actually speak at a presidential inauguration since Karl Frost way back when. After the age of 50 is when her books finally became prominent and well-read throughout America and the world. And when asked about her success, she says, liking yourself is liking what you do and liking how you do it. Ask for what you want and be prepared to get it. There's Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind. She was rejected by 38 publishers before she finally got the green light. And I bet Lucille Ball when she got sent home from acting school because the teachers thought she was too shy and she would never make a good actress. She absolutely had to know that nothing was too hard for God. All too often, we stay with safe options. We never step outside of the box and we never push the envelope. We keep praying to God to give us more of the same, and we keep doing more of what we've always done. But unlike these mothers, we have got to believe in our impossible dreams. We have got to believe, like Maya Angelou and like Margaret Mitchell, that nothing is too hard for God. We've got to believe that it is in our hands to change our environment, to improve our health. All too often we accept that we can be healed, but we don't tend to accept that we can be prosperous. I'm here to tell you today that God is all things that you can need, and that it is impossible to receive one without receiving the other. What do you do, though, when your problems seem insurmountable? When it seems that all the doors have been nailed shut, and I've been there. I know it says, and when one door opens, when one door closes, God opens another. But there's a quote that I love that says, it sure feels like hell in the hallway. And what do you do while you're waiting in the hallway? Now, my life is a made-for-TV program. Okay? I could be my own reality show. I am a rape survivor. I was a teenage mother, pregnant at 14. I was anorexic. I was suicidal. And I had a basal skull fracture in 1988. They told me I was going to die. And when I didn't die, they told me I wasn't going to walk or talk. 1996, I had so much debt I didn't know what to do. And I became unemployed and homeless. Now, while being homeless, like Eve, I did things, and like Maya Angelou, that I never thought I would do. There's a song by Nickelback called Rockstar that says, I was standing in line in clubs I would never get in. It was like the bottom of the ninth, and I'm never going to win. This life hadn't turned out quite the way it be. That would have been my theme song had it been popular like that. So feeling like Eve, I was kicked out of the garden. I didn't have any friends. I couldn't go to school with the other students because they thought that they would catch what I had when I was pregnant. When I started spiraling down in financial debt, I had no friends again. All my friends thought they would catch that. It's amazing how people think that they can catch what you have. And when I was homeless, I didn't even have family to call. So you see, I ate the apple of despair. But one day I remember hearing a song by James Cleveland, and there was one lyric that stuck in my mind, and that is, where is your faith in God? And that was when I realized that eating the apple of despair is not terminal. Since then, I've come to know that no one knows enough to determine what someone else will and will not accomplish. That I'm continually grateful that the power in my life continues to prove to me every day that the valley of the shadow of death is merely a shadow. See, I finally understood that even in disobedience, I could not be separated from the love of God. And I promised God that I would never do this again, never get to that place again, if he would deliver me. And deliver me, he has. From that point, like Sarah, I never gave up. And like you hated, I trusted God to guide my steps and keep me safe. And like Hannah, I kept my word. Currently today, I just got another promotion. I'm a senior advisor for a federal agency. I'm a CFO for the Coleman Development Corporation, which is a general construction company. Host of a local television show entitled A Sip of Inspiration, the author of 3 books, and have an MBA from the University of Chicago's Executive MBA program. There was a quote in a book that I discovered through Reverend Celeste, Entering the Castle by Carolyn Miss, and Carolyn Miss says that in order to live our dreams, that we have to stop praying for ease, that we need to develop stamina and determination. And I remember that, and that is so true, and that's what was common in all of these mothers, and all of the mothers, and all of the women who've gone forth and lived their dreams. There is a story, though, about a mother who had a famous son that we remember. Ben Carson, at the age of 8, watched his father walk out on his family. He saw his mother, Sonia Carson, struggle his whole life with fear and financial worries and everything. She had 2 boys. Ben was one of them, and he had a brother. This woman had a 3rd grade education, but she insisted that her sons seek their potential and told them never to let your circumstances get you down. She taught them that education would change lives. Ben took on this challenge and devoted himself to a life of learning and achievement and overcame a tremendous amount of adversity on the path. He had a very famous temper that could have led him in jail. Instead, he changed his focus. He went on to become a famous neurosurgeon. He never forgot his mother's early lessons. He was director of pediatric neurosurgery at St. Johns Hopkins University, and at 57, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his groundbreaking contributions to medicine and his efforts to help America's youth fulfill their potential. Ben Carson and his brother, however, never realized until they became adults that their mother, Sonia Carson, could not even read. He says, as my mother would tell me, give your best, Ben Carson. Settle for nothing less than doing the best for yourself and others. Ben Carson went on later to lead a team of 69 medical professions in achieving a first, and that was successfully separating conjoined twins who were attached by the back of their heads. See, his mother taught him to realize that God does not want to punish us, but rather to fulfill our lives. God created us, loves us, and wants to help us realize our potential so that we can be useful to others. See, you have to believe that it's not over until you decide it's over. You have to believe that if you can't do it, it can't be done. You've got to believe that not only do you have what it takes to reach the top, but as that champagne bottle pops, you can make it hot. You've got to believe that. So as a young mother set on the foothill, the path of life, she asked God, is the way long? He smiled and said, yes, the way is long. And you will be old before you reach the end of it, but the end will be better than the beginning. The young mother was happy, and she would not believe that anything could be better than these years. So she played with her children, and she gathered flowers for them along the way. She bathed them in the clear streams. The sun shone on them, and life was good. And the mother said, nothing will ever be lovelier than this. But the night came, and a storm, and the path became dark. Her children shook with fear and cold, and the mother drew them close, and she covered them. The children said, oh, mother, we're not afraid, for you are near, and no harm can come. And the mother said, this is better than the brightness of the sun, for I have taught my children courage. The morning came, and there was a hill ahead, and the children climbed and grew weary, and the mother was weary. But at times she said to the children, a little patience, and we'll soon be there. So the children climbed, and they climbed. And they reached the top, they said, "We could not have done it without you, Mother." And the mother looked up at the stars when she lay down at night, and she said, "This has been better than the last day, for my children have learned fortitude in the face of the storm. Yesterday, I gave them courage. Today, I give them strength and determination." The next day then came strange clouds with darkened earth, war, hate, evil, and the children groped and stumbled. And the mother said, "Look up, lift your eyes to the light." The children saw above the clouds an everlasting glory, and it guided them and brought them beyond the darkness. The night, the mother said, "This is the best day of all, for I have shown my children God." As the children went on and years passed, the mother was no longer with them. Today, the children say, "Mother, you will always be with us, even when you're gone, through the gates of heaven. For you are not only a living memory, but you are a living presence." And Sweet Honey in the Rock would sum it up like this: "There are no mirrors in my Nana's house, and the beauty that I saw in everything was in the eyes like the rising of the sun. I never knew that my skin was too black. I never knew that my nose was too flat. I never knew that my clothes didn't fit. I never knew that the things I'd missed, because the beauty in everything was in her eyes, like the rising of the sun." These lyrics perfectly explain mothers. So you don't need a mirror to see your self-worth. Mothers have given us the awareness that we have something to offer this world, and no matter what, we will be heard. I want you to go forth today. I want you to dream big, live the life that you've imagined, and remember, life is too short to drink cheap champagne.